Yo, what's up, people? What's going on? Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, people? What's going on? Hey, man, what's going on? That's what my little nephew says. Hey, what's going on? Mackie, shout out to Mackie. Y'all see, you see the title. You see the title. This is about the truth about your president. We only talking about Donald Trump and his shenanigans. Well, not just Donald Trump, also those Republicans that support him. We need to get into it tonight, y'all. We need to get into it tonight about y'all president. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit to share and let people know that Mondale is on live. So what's up to everybody watching on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you're watching, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching, shout out, shout out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the truth about your president, and everybody needs to hear it. So make sure you share this, make sure you listen, you like, you subscribe. Let's get busy telling the truth about presidents. This president in particular, this president, the Donald Trump, that Bama, that goofy, that MFer. Let's talk about it. I don't want to waste no time. Let's jump right in. I am so frustrated. Listen, we tend to think or believe just because, and let me be clear, the we I'm talking about is the people who play politics, the people who do politics in this work for a living, tend to believe that simply because the news media is moved on from a topic, then the world should move on from it. And Donald Trump benefits from this way of thinking, especially as it pertains to how loose he is with taxpayers' money. And what I mean by that is right now, what I'm talking about is how that man last night was tweeting, not tweeting on whatever his Truth Social, whatever you call it when you send a message on Truth Social. Last night, he was talking about he was going to bomb Iran and take an island. He's joking about military strategy while we are at war that our Congress, nor our allies agreed for or agreed upon. 103 days today, y'all. We are at war. 103 days. It is important that you remember that. This president has went against all constitutional norms, democratic norms, and any form of civility when he talks about bombing an entire race of people back to the Stone Ages, when he jokes about taking an island and destroying all of these people oil, or taking it so he can do like he did with Venezuela. He's joking about other countries' resources as if it's legal for a nation to just go in and strip people of their resources because you want to. If it was happening by any other nation, we would be screaming like crazy in this country. We would be so upset if we knew that any other country was behaving like the United States of America is behaving at this very moment. Yet we act like this is not the end of democratic norms or the beginning of a new world order that does not see America as the guiding light for how democratic societies are supposed to behave. That's what your president is doing. So like I said, he was tweeting or whatever on social media platform last night about bombing an entire country, taking an island, which requires troops, which are humans, not to mention the people that die when you drop bombs. And none of us can believe that Donald Trump's administration is effective, efficient, or functioning properly. So we know that civilians are dying just because Pete Hegseth is in charge of the Department of Defense. That alone lets us know that we are responsible as Americans for killing innocent people because this president is behaving in that manner. We are all obligated to say that. But what I'm talking about tonight, and I'm not trying to minimize the human cost of war or Donald Trump's presidential term, the second term. But I want to talk about the amount of money and what could have been done, and also how he's eliminating democratic principles, preparing never to leave, setting up a government that is his and his alone forever, and no one is screaming it, acting as if I'm out of my mind. Donald Trump right now is threatening to issue an executive order that will prevent any mail-in ballots from going out to any state that has not turned over their voting rolls. That means if you've not given the federal government, everybody who's registered in your state, they will not mail out any ballots. Some of y'all might think this is a small thing. Some of y'all might say, oh, well, what's the problem? The problem is the Constitution is extremely clear that the states have the right to mandate their elections in the way that they see fit. And the Congress has very little oversight, very little. Not the president, not an executive order. Actually, the president has no oversight of elections. And the problem is no one on the Republican side or the right side or conservative or libertarian, all of these people who scream about state rights, all of these people who are always talking about state rights are saying nothing about Donald Trump's continued effort to erode state rights and do whatever he please, however he please. None of y'all are saying anything about how this man is behaving as it pertains to taking over states, what is constitutionally noted as state rights. The crazy part about this, and I wouldn't give a damn about this, but for throughout of history, all of America's history, white conservatives have used state rights as a dog whistle for racism. Don't tread on me. State rights is the reason that we had a civil war. States' rights, because the federal government said it was time to end slavery. States up north stopped returning Black people that would run away from slavery, the institution of slavery in southern states. Southern states issued, several of them were clear when they said in their declaration, their secession document, that they are leaving the Union because they have a right to own Black people. Is a state right to decide if they will be a slave state. And I'm being very polite what they said. They said something far more grotesque than that. These are the facts. This is what happened. That's the origin of state rights is there. The fight, the Civil War is the height of state rights for white conservatives looking to do something that is inequitable or to own Black people. And that wasn't the only time throughout our history that they used state rights. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. Because they also argued state rights around Jim Crow, segregation of school, separate but equal. All of those arguments were grounded in the so-called state rights. Yet these Republicans are not making any arguments for state rights around voting because they know voting ID is the new code. It is the new N-word. It is how you prevent Black people from having an articulable voice in the political structure. It is how you disenfranchise Black people without making them count grains of salt or sugar. It is the new poll tax. The voting ID is that. And we are pretending or acting as if this is not a serious moment. Your president just said no mail-in ballots will go out to any state that has not turned over their voting rolls. That is an attack on Democratic-led states. That is an attack where a majority of black people are. That is an attack on black people. That is an attack on the black vote. So when I talk about organizations and entities that supposedly represent us not having strategy, this is the danger of not having strategy, not being prepared for this moment, because there are lawsuits right now. None of those lawsuits are from our organizations. They're from 23 Democratic controlled states are suing this administration and DC. Why is it that no black organizations are suing them? There are some nonpartisan organizations that's suing around this executive order or this threat. Huh? There's other cases where Donald Trump is being sued that is anti-black. DEI, the DEI mandate is being challenged, the executive order that basically ended DEI and federal contracting. He's been sued by 20 attorney generals around this country because the language is vague. And in politics, in law, anyone that knows anything about the law knows that you cannot write a law that is vague and hard to interpret. This is what these idiots did with their executive order trying to eliminate DEI. And in doing so, now they set themselves up for another lawsuit. But this is what y'all should have known. We are currently in an administration that is spending taxpayers' dollars so much on lawsuits that it's almost a line item that needs to be noticed in the budget. Just on legal fees alone, we're in the tens of millions. That's just legal fees. It's 176 billion what's going to be paid back to businesses around those illegal tariffs. 23 billion of which has already been paid. This is the truth about your president and how he's spending your money. This is how they're spending your money right now, and you're not talking about it. These so-called conservative and fiscally conservative people are allowing this president to spend tens of millions of dollars simply on legal fees. Not to mention what's going to happen when these cases are settled. This administration is not even 2 years yet, and they are currently facing 350 plus lawsuits, active lawsuits against the federal government, against actions from this president. 350, I said, y'all. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Do you know 350 lawsuits don't even sound real to me? That is taxpayer money being wasted. This is the same money that this president told you he could not afford universal child care. Universal child care wouldn't even cost $100 million. We've been at war for 103 days. Conservatives are trying to say that the war costs $1 billion a day. But everybody know that's a number that's just about what we're spending on ammunition. No one expects that's the total cost of war. There are other studies from the Center of Strategic and International Studies that are saying that when you consider direct military costs, when you consider the total economic costs like higher oil prices, inflation, shipping disruption, all of these things are real. All of these things are real. When you consider the other cost of war, like how we're going to spend the depletion of our equipment and also munition, missile inventories. Come on, guys. Military aid, logistics, broader defense costs, and I ain't even including what this country gives Israel. That's around $2 billion a day. So that's $200 billion that Donald Trump has spent on a war. $200 billion, y'all. Do you know what you could do with $200 billion in the United States? It's suggested that it costs $10 billion a year to end homelessness. That means every homeless person in the United States could have had a house or somewhere to sleep for the next 10 years. That's what he spent in 103 days. It is not a case of if they got money, it is a case how they will prioritize that money. They're asking for hundreds of billions of dollars for ICE. 176 billion, I think. That means that's another 17 years where we could end. That's the next 27 years with not a single person sleeping on the road or without a house unless they choose to in this country. Child care, universal child care for every child that's not old enough to be in school would only cost us $70 billion a year. That means 30, 40 years of universal child care has been spent by this administration. Not to mention all the money that these fees, these legal fees are costing us. This is what people are telling you, and we're not on fire about this. We're not talking about what really is happening. The absence of state rights when it's to protect people from racism and racist policies that will disenfranchise a demographic that just got the real right to vote in the 60s. I'm talking about Black people. In the year that you all are talking about celebrating 250 years of democracy, this is what's happening. And you all are pretending, you all mean us, are pretending that 2026 looks any better than 1946. When in actuality, the Black family is probably worth less now than it was then. In Boston, one of the richest cities in this country, Black families are worth $8. The Black wealth is $8. Not 80, not 800, not 8,000, not 80, not 800,000. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. 8. In 2026. We got Black electeds that should be leading the charge, leading protest, demanding something happens, not voting for anybody's budgets, anything, until they address these problems. You cannot tell me it's systemic or it's not systemic when if you look at not just the federal government, we already know that Black people are not represented in federal contracts. But if you look at the states, Black people aren't actively or accurately represented in those who get contracts. A tenth of a percent, y'all. That's what the percentage of Black people in New Jersey, the government contracts, a tenth of a percent. 0.1. Boston, New Jersey, and Atlanta, Black people, so-called this beautiful Black Mecca. But if you look at the net Black worth, it is nothing. We look like the gap, the wealth gap in Atlanta right now, look like what it was the day after slavery ended. The day after slavery ended, the white, for every dollar that a Black person had, were 69 white dollars. Right now, it's every dollar Black people got, white people got 49 in Atlanta. What gains are we talking about? We have politicians that are more comfortable or worried about their seat as if they own it than it is doing something for their people and losing that seat, which is more admirable. While this president spends hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and look at the camera and say things to you like, I love inflation. The president said, I love inflation. Right now in 2026, your president told you that. Y'all give me a second. Thank you so much. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm really frustrated that we're not talking about this. And if you scour the universe or the internet for what's going on in politics, you're gonna get more about Jeezy Love Life. You're gonna get more information about the inside of Carmelo Anthony's house in New York. Oh, the cran raisins and a coffee, please. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, you're gonna get more information about or something stupid or the donkey of the day from Charlemagne. And you are real topics about what's happening in our community. The fact that they're systemically undereducating Black people. Who's leading the lawsuit, the class action lawsuit for all of the Black women who lost jobs under this racist president? What happened to the laws that said whether your intent was racist or not? If your actions are racist, it doesn't, your intent does not matter. It is still racist. It is racist if Black women are negatively impacted, if Black people are negatively impacted the way that Donald Trump's DEI policy was. Period. Period. We saw the interviews before they got stripped off the internet, the depositions of the Doge workers. We saw mediocrity. We saw white nothingness in those interviews. Yet those men, those boys, the young boys, had jobs that they shouldn't have had, that they didn't know nothing about. And they were firing and in charge of cutting programs, killing people. That's not hyperbole. That is not hyperbole. Yet we sit silent talking about leaders who won't even lead. We have somebody tell me what's the national plan for Black people. Maybe we owe Tavis Smiley and Cornel West an apology. Maybe they were right about the passiveness at which we went about the Obama administration. Maybe we should have demanded more, because if Donald Trump can behave like this for bad, what could executive orders could Barack Obama have written for good? Why didn't they fight the filibuster and force a justice on the court? Because that is the problem. They let Mitch McConnell stop them, even though it's the presidential right to appoint someone. So did we all fall asleep on our duty to hold Barack Obama accountable? And did we just fall in love with the fact that he was eloquent and he's smart and he's Black? Was that enough? Is that enough for us? Are we only demanding that you be Black and smart and well-spoken? Are we not demanding you do something for our people? And all of these Black people who keep lifting up their friends, looking out for your friends is one thing. Looking out for your friends in politics is dangerous if you know your friend don't know what the hell they're talking about and they're claiming to be a spokesperson or doing work for our people. All of you are accountable when you boost up your friend knowing damn well that person don't know what you're talking about. Y'all keep giving them new shows on new platforms or new spaces and new platforms, and they keep showing up at the end of a campaign once it's already been worked out, acting like they're responsible for it. And we want to act like they did something or they organized something when they don't know what the hell they talking about or what organizing looked like. Saying people trying to break up a protest because they got a consulting gig with a candidate and they don't want you to call that candidate out. And everybody that was at that event know exactly what I'm talking about, and they know why that person was protected, who she was associated with, and you also know the tactics that she used to try to protect herself, even though she was acting just like white supremacy with fake tears. But instead of holding her accountable, what people said was, well, she's connected to Y'all goofy. Y'all goofy. It lets me know that all of y'all care more about being at that damn table, regardless if you ain't eating. Just at that table is enough. Because y'all forgot the mission. Y'all souls were for sale and you didn't tell nobody. You should have told people up front that you was throwing rocks as long as you was outside, but when you got inside, you weren't gonna throw any more rocks. You weren't gonna break any doors off the hinge. Y'all should have told us before. It's coffee time. Give me a break. Frustrated with y'all. Y'all acting like Donald Trump became president out of nowhere. Y'all don't want to own y'all role in this? The way y'all campaign? These traditional methods that move nobody? You ain't responsible for that? If you ain't responsible for losing, then why we keep sending you the money? Because when I pay somebody money for a service and they fail or what they were supposed to do don't happen, I hold them accountable. I got well water. If I had to dig a new well and they came out here and dug a hole but didn't put a well tank in there, I don't get to hold them accountable. So why aren't we holding accountable the people whose job it is to do this work over and over? The people who spend $1 billion in 100 days. Where's the $1 billion? You got us less voters than before. How you spend $1 billion in 100 days and turn out less voters than when we had less money? Why aren't we holding those people accountable? Those people are being propped up and prepared for another election cycle to get the next $1 billion divided amongst them. Ain't nobody saying nothing about it. Why? Why are we silent as if we are powerless? No one is elected without votes. Votes are capital. Votes are power. Being elected is perceived power. It is not real power. And what I mean is not real power is you can unelect anybody that's elected. You do that by voting. We pretend that these people are more powerful because you see them on CNN or MSNBC. They are not. They are not. Every elected official, none, excluding none, can be unelected. We just got to do the work. We got to stop looking to TV. There is no savior of Black people. Nobody's coming for us from CNN. Nobody's coming for us on CNN, MSNBC. They're not coming. They're comfortable sitting around those tables. If those people cared enough to come for you, they would have left when the right-wing people took over. When Donald Trump allies took over. That is not the case. These people are comfortable with the millions they've been paid. This is about money and nothing else. BET, Black Entertainment, is owned by white people. It ain't Black education television. It never was. It never was going to be. Because why would they? American capitalism is as racist as anything else. It is a system that was born out of the trip from the transatlantic slave trade. When people realized that exploiting Black bodies could make them wealthy, capitalism was born. There's no easy pathway to addressing this. And it's damn sure not buying into the status quo, these traditional tactics with these traditional thinking people, even if they look like us, even if they tell you they're speaking on our behalf. Ask them what their actions are to match their speech. Do they have facts? What y'all like to say receipts? What are their receipts? What are they doing on our behalf? I'm asking. I'm asking. I don't know. I do know one thing though. Everybody associated with Donald Trump is making money hand over fist. Poor white people have once again showed you, poor racist white people have once again showed you that they would choose whiteness over letting black people be comfortable. That was the case during slavery. Poor white people thought, because they could never be enslaved, that they were better, even though they had nothing except for their white skin. Right now, you have poor white people in Appalachia, in the plains of this country, in Arizona, in Reno, in Northern California, in Florida, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Kentucky, in the hollows of Kentucky, in the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma, with nothing except for white skin. And for them, that's enough. They will always vote for that skin over practicality. And we aren't even organized enough to take those well-meaning white people and the black people who care about black people and build a coalition that could disarm this racist system. Because we're constantly chasing their actions and never creating institutions that would address long-term problems for people. Long-term problems from people. NAACP, where's your think tank? Why are we not supporting policies about the economic? When are we going to move away from thinking about dollars and start thinking about wealth? And wealth for us has to be something more than dollars, because I just told you capitalism is grounded in exploitation of black bodies. Wealth for us has to be our ability to survive in the face of constant discrimination and some of the most horrid conditions one has dealt with on this planet. Ever. Period. Ever. Period. Ever. Yet we pretend like this is the most sacred ground in the world. $8. You got black people who go to, most people don't even know this. There are black people that go to Martha's Vineyard, filthy rich black people that go to Martha's Vineyard every year, a group of them, and they act like they're fundraising and supporting. And it's just a disgusting trip of wealth. It costs like $20,000 to rent a house that week or that 2-week period. And ain't none of them that go up there, the billionaires, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, live up there. They ain't came up with the idea to create a think tank, to create policies that benefit us so we can push laws. We can get legislators to push laws to get passed for us. We ain't got a think tank to figure out how we take over state governments like the Koch brothers did. We ain't writing policies in a way that benefit us. The NAACP ain't got a plan beyond sacrificing boys. The Urban League ain't got no plan, no think tank to create policies, to produce policies that benefit our people. The Democratic Party ain't had a tax bill in 50 years. We can't do a tax bill that's for the people. Everything you pay is a tax write-off. You pay taxes, you pay your car payment, your car insurance, your gas, You can make everything up. Create a tax bill where everything the poor people pay or working people pay is a tax write-off, and put that forward. So everything people spend that is a bill, utilities, everything, they get it back at the end of the year. That's a tax bill. Write it. Write it. We have no strategy. We can't even think about 5 years from now, 30 years from now. John Robert, listen, this is strategy. It's maniacal and demonic, but it's strategic. Republicans, Roberts didn't just come out of nowhere. Roberts came out of the strategy from the 60s. As soon as they passed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act in the 60s, they started figuring out how they were going to dismantle it. John Roberts is now the Chief Justice, and he got that opportunity to do that. 60 years in the making, that's their planning. He was trying to do it. This is where Heritage Foundation, all of these conservative think tanks came from right then. They figured out how they were going to do this. Project 2025 started getting worked on. John Roberts was an attorney in the Justice Department, working doing on Reagan's administration, trying to figure out how to get rid of the Voting Rights Act, dismantle it. Fast forward 2026, he's the Chief Justice. He's the Chief Justice. He's the Chief Justice that gets to sign and vote to eliminate it. Basically, eliminate the Voting Rights Act. Name for me a Democratic strategy that can date back 60 years. What plan, what program, what institution that leads all the way back? We don't have any. We don't have any. We lack strategy. We lack strategy. I don't know what to say at this point, but there's nothing different going to come from actions that are similar to what you've always done. I think someone said that's the definition of insanity. I almost choked on my dried cranberry, screaming at y'all. Seriously though, insanity. I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell our people when y'all want to scream about them not showing up to the polls or not voting in a way that y'all want them to vote, or not voting as often as y'all want them to, when they don't see your politics doing anything for them. Your option is suffer less under Democrats. And that suffering less is not suffering less. It's just you're suffering without the racist terms. But who cares what you call me if I still can't eat under your policies? Democrats were completely against Romney Care when it was in Massachusetts. But when Barack Obama produced it as Obamacare, it was the best thing since sliced bread. What happened to universal health care? And that being our fight. Single payer. And that being our fight. We're not a serious group, policy-wise. And Republicans are playing a different game. Donald Trump at this point has shown you that all of this can be undone whenever he wants to. This man is about to put up a damn ark that may interfere with the flight path of planes from DCA. That's the airport up here. That is the airport that may have to change their flight pattern because Donald Trump is saying, screw your principles and policies. I'm not getting anything approved. I'm just doing what I want to do. For evil, he's doing this. So what could have been done for good? What could we have done for good to change the outcome of lives for so many people that are suffering on the margins? Reparations does not seem so far now. If we see Donald Trump behaving in this manner, why don't we simply just, when we get in power, take and say black people are owed reparations? We've done the studies. Darity from Duke University has already done the studies on what we are owed, put forth that plan. Yet we move passive and afraid because truth of it is, it seems as if we are playing politics and they are cementing policies that create a permanent hierarchy. And folk that look like me are nowhere near the top of that hierarchy. You got black people talking about government contracts, and what we know is we're getting pennies. Pennies. White women are getting more minority contracts than black people. Black people are a larger percentage of the population than Asians. Asians are getting more government contracts. When you talk about how do I get a government contract, you're going to fight for the scraps that they give black people because they're not going to give you government contracts that affects anybody else's money. And we ain't telling the truth about that. You want to talk about systemic racism, it is to make people who are a significant portion of the population believe that they are good with the crumbs that you are serving them. The economics of being black in America is a dastardly diss. It is a diss worse than any yo mama joke you ever heard. And I don't know what to tell y'all if you ain't willing to fight. Don't talk to me about hope that is not grounded in fighting. Don't talk to me about hope that is not grounded in resistance. Don't talk to me about hope that is not radical. 2008, 7, and 6 Obama hope is a drug. It is a drug that put us to sleep. We need to talk about hope only when we have on our proverbial boxing gloves. When we are ready to fight for what is rightfully ours and demand, even from people, especially from people that look like us, that they stand the hell up or get out the way. Stand the hell up or get out the way. It is 2026 and we are less safe than we were in 1946. That's enough to make all of us afraid. That's enough to scare every one of us, or at least it should be. Black parents, again, are telling their sons, you cannot behave like other boys your age simply because of your skin color, because you'll end up with 35 years for protecting yourself. You'll end up with 35 years for protecting yourself. Or you end up dead for running for protection. We don't have time to give a damn about Jeezy's love life. I don't know. And I don't know if I care about the inside of Carmelo Anthony's house in New York. I don't care. What I do care about is the fact that nobody is sounding the alarm that there's a war against black people in 2026. And it looks a lot like the strange fruit that Billie Holiday was talking about. We are dying. Policies are killing us. Government actions are murdering Black people. And we are still comfortable being entertained as if we are in a stadium or a coliseum, I should say, in Rome. The problem is the slaying and the slayed happens to be Black people. Proverbially. It's honestly, Mark, it's not about saving everyone. It's about recognizing the moment we find ourselves in. It is not my job to believe that I am Superman and that I even have the ability to save myself. But I do have the ability not to die, letting people believe I was okay with inhumane treatment. And I'm definitely trying to make sure that other folk understand that. So the saving of people requires a lot more than what I have to offer. I do, though, have a serious sense of self that I know that what's happening to my people is not because we are lazy or inadequate, but it's because of systemic racism. And I do have a right and understanding to say something about that. And it's why I show up. It's how I show up. And it's honestly, for me, it breaks my heart that you see Stephen A. Smith spat now back and forth with Donald Trump is getting more attention, is going more viral than this young Black man who was just sentenced to 35 years. Stephen A. Smith is a disgusting person who does not deserve any Black people talking about him in defense of him simply because of how he plays with our issues. And now that Donald Trump has called him low IQ and reminded him that he is a N-word, now he wants to be the victim. Well, I don't allow Don Lemon, Stephen A. Smith, D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey, none of those guys get to play victim after they are out here playing the play they have. It is not, it's Mark, it's not my job to, I try to speak as plain as I can. I know sometimes I speak fast, but I speak as plain as I can because everybody can understand if they had time or if they possibly hear what I'm saying. So I think people are too busy trying to live and exist to understand all of the tricks America is playing on us. That's why I come on this TV or this screen, this camera, and talk directly at this camera often, because I feel like if my people knew what was going on, more of them would be activated. So I know everybody don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, but it's my job to try to put it in front of them. That's what I do. Because I don't believe that this information is above people understanding it. I think so many people try to keep it away from them for so long. People have been hiding the fact that it's Black people, just like it's white people, who are doing harm to our people. That's why my people are not all skin folk. My people are people who love Black people and other marginalized folk, regardless of their color. Because it's some Black folk, especially, I see you out there, Kimberly, especially Black folk who at the local level that are doing harm to our people and our kids. And that needs to be called out. That needs to be called out. And we need to understand that hope is not a drug if it's grounded in fighting, if it has a plan. If you are hopeful for a plan, if you're hopeful for an idea or strategy, that's wonderful. But this blind and passive hope that they talked about, there's no red America or blue America, it's just the United States of America. That shit sound good on postcards. There's more than one America. Black people live in a different America than the one that built for protected white people. And if you can't agree on that, if you can't see that, you, the proverbial you, are just as lost as those folk that we trying to save. We got work to do, and it requires all of us to pull up our boots or get a pair of extra boots and give them to somebody that ain't got none. Don't sit around and hear something that's offensive and not talk about it. Point it out. Call it out. Call it out. We're in a moment right now where anything or nothing should be allowed to slide. Our people are dying. Medicine, people are paying for medicine that are living on fixed income that they never had to pay for before. People are paying for medicine that they never had to pay for because this president chose that while he goes to war and now preparing to set up his son's other company to make military drones and then sell them to our people. What's going on? Oh my God. Paper Dragon. I ain't seen you in years. What's going on? I'm back on YouTube regularly, and it's so good to see you. And I miss John. I miss the damage report. I miss some of the people over at TYT. I do not miss the leadership. I hope the folk that are doing good over there are okay and healthy. And I still got love for a lot of people at that network. It's just that my soul would not allow me to stay over there, knowing that I felt a certain type of way about where Jink and Anna was taking it or how they felt about certain things. So, like I said, I still love and I believe that we need a TYT, but we need a TYT that's free of leadership that's showing up in the way that Jink and Anna are in this moment. So, yeah, throwing my paper dragons, come on back. Set your timer or your notification that when I go live, let people know that I'm back. I'm speaking my truths. I made time for this. We are in a moment right now where we need people combating the BS. I'm not judging people for wanting to spend time disconnecting from reality. But when your entire media diet consume of BS, you're not doing what you were supposed to be doing in this moment if you care about your neighbors. There's some work that's required of all of us. And part of that work requires us to understand and hear things that we may not be aware of and then activate in any way possible, even if that's just sharing that information with someone else. Hey, I got vetted information that's different than that BS, than that misinformation that's being shared in these crazy sites by Dr. Umar Johnson and the same and the like. So this is why I think we have an opportunity to do something we've never done before. Whenever we are back in power, whenever we are the majority, we are obligated to end. I don't want to hear any excuses. The filibuster must die. The filibuster must die. And if we're not willing to end the current way we elect senators in this country, then we damn sure need to figure out how we're going to end the Electoral College. Because it's not fair to say that it's more people in Los Angeles, the county of Los Angeles, than it is in the middle 22 states. But the people in Los Angeles are obligated to share 2 senators with the rest of the people in California, while those 22 states that just has more land, not more people, are represented by 44 senators. We need to really get serious when we're back in power about what it's going to look like. And I don't want to hear that we can't get it done in 2 years, because right now, while we're fighting in this moment, there should be some of us that are writing in this moment. And that writing needs to inquire on how do we go about ending the filibuster? How do we end the Electoral College? How do we make Washington, D.C. a state? It's more people in Washington, D.C. than it is in Alaska. So why is it that Alaska can be represented, but Washington, D.C. isn't? Because we are not fighting hard enough. The political map changes forever if we get those two Senate seats from Washington, D.C., because they would definitely be Democratic seats. And the only people that don't know that are Democrats. That's why they're not fighting for it. Republicans know it. That's why they're fighting against it. D.C. deserves statehood. They pay federal tax and they have no representation. I'm saying it to you all. We're obligated to do something about this. We must act. We must demand action. And reparations cannot be we don't need another study on reparations. We need it to flow. Reparations has to be a project that's a part of anything we do going forward. Anything else is unacceptable. Trump is spending $13, $14 million on painting a reflection pool that's never supposed to be painted like it's a swimming pool. No bid contract to one of his friends. Elon Musk getting multiple billion-dollar contracts in 1 week's time. Businesses sending money to Donald Trump's political PAC to gain favor with him. FEC trying to threaten to take people's broadcasting license because they criticize Trump. Don't tell me what's possible. Donald Trump has opened the gate. And if they can use this much power to do negative, we as progressives need to get comfortable with having power and using it for good. That's the ideal of being progressive. You don't love power for power's sake. You love it for what you can do for people. Get comfortable with the idea of having power. Don't get comfortable with the idea that power belongs to you. We need the willpower for the benefit of people, whether they like it or not. We need to protect these racist white people in the hollers, just like we do everybody else. Because we know if we put policies that benefit Black people that are living on the margins, it's also going to lift other people. It's time out for us waiting for them to do it, and that is not the way forward. The way forward is for us to fight. Hope is grounded in fight, or it is not real at all. I'm Mundell Robinson. Have a great night.